because I've heard people say a PhD, it's monotonous. Some people,
Yeah.
but I enjoy it. I enjoy doing research. I get to work on projects. I get satisfied once I am delivering something new, and even through publications, or once you get your publications get cited from so many. Uh, like for me, like for example, one of my publications was cited by some well-known authors. So I was really happy with. So it sort of gives you that confidence that yeah, your work has already made some impact on the field.
Hi everyone, welcome to the channel ArchiPhD. Today I'm very excited to welcome Lakshya as a guest in our brand new series called PhD Stories. Hi Lakshya, thank you for joining in. Let me start with asking you to introduce yourself to our viewers. Briefly introduce about yourself, your current designation, your affiliation, and anything interesting you want to share with us.
Yes, so my name is Lakshya Pandit. I'm 28 years old, currently doing my research in the fields of urban mobility in Technical University Darmstadt, which is a part of TU universities in Germany. And currently I'm focusing and also working on side projects regarding urban health. And yeah, so I'm also funded by a DAAD scholarship. And at the same time, I'm just working on finishing my compilation of my research in this fourth year, and hopefully next year I'm done with it.
So let me also start with the first section of our session, which is about your PhD story. So can you please tell us why and how and when and why did you decided to go for a PhD, and why Germany?
Okay, so it comes back from when I was doing my master's. So when I was in IIT Roorkee, so they have this program with technical universities in Germany, like TU and IITs. So they have this research program where master students, they go to Germany and they do one semester of winter semester of their research from their thesis year. So that was sort of my first interaction with the German culture and the research while I was doing my research here. And then I came back to India, and I like the subject urban mobility, and especially regarding research. I have always been into research one way or the other, directly or indirectly, during my past years, and so I was just working on it. And then my supervisor was also really keen. I was happy with my work, and then things went on. And then I also applied for the DAAD scholarship for the PhD, which is in Germany, an organization which supports research scholars. And then I got through it, and based on that, I came back to Germany and followed within the subjects of urban mobility and related projects in the research lab.
So what is can you tell us about DAAD scholarship? So how did you apply? What's the duration and the amount that you receive? Is the process complicated, or what is the first step? Can you just briefly explain about it?
Yeah, regarding the DAAD scholarship, so I applied it after I finished my master's. So you cannot apply it before you've done with your master's. So I applied it after my master's, and then they have this two-stage criteria. First, you submit the application, and then once they shortlist you, and then you go through the interview round, and then after that, once you clear that, and then they give you a sort of a notification whether you have cleared it or not. And so this whole process takes around, you can say, approximately a year or 7 to 8 months, the overall procedure. And then after that, then depending upon, I don't know the current year's program, but during my time, so they also supported the language course. So you also get to know the German language. So they have this routine of they provide you a scholarship, but you have to reapply it every year based on your progress. So it's not like you are guaranteed you will get 4 years of scholarship continuously. Every year you have to do work, you have to submit a report based on your timeline of work, whatever you have done, if you have published something or not. So it's around 1200, and so that covers basically your day-to-day, your monthly needs. On top of that, they also give you additional support for regarding your research work or assistance regarding conferences, or if you have some publications, and they also provide you the health insurance. So as health insurance is covered during your scholarship period in Germany.
Okay, so you also supposed to have a teaching assistantship while doing a PhD?
Yeah, so for me, because like I have colleagues who teach, but because I have a scholarship, so I don't require, or I don't fit. If I want to teach, I can, I think. But the thing is, those require extra hours, and because of the scholarship, there's a limit which I cannot cross, and within those limits, I basically work, or I do additional work through other related projects. So that is sort of an option which you can go forward through if you want to also work, and at the same time you also have a scholarship. So that sort of helps you develop your resume and also gain experience while you're doing your research, but at the same time also working on live projects which can bring some changes in the urban environment.
That's very interesting. You get to do other kind of professional projects along with your doctorate program. So can you tell me, what is the fun part of doing research in Germany, the non-academic part?
I think it's like the first thing which would come to my mind is you get to explore so many cultures because of the international environment of these cities, especially where the technical universities are. It has a lot of international collaborations with other universities and even students from different continents, and you get to know their culture and how they get on with their lives, and there's a lot of cultural exchange happening almost every day or every other week when you might meet new people. And also, I think here, comparatively, I think the green environment which you can explore. Also, every country has their green areas that you can explore. But I think here the accessibility of those areas through different mediums and the way you can explore these areas, I think it's more accessible. I think that's what I found as compared to some places. Also, the one thing which I like in Germany is the weekends, especially on Sundays, it's completely quiet. So you get your time of relaxation and sort of recharge yourself through calmness. So on Sundays, usually it's very quiet, so you're not even allowed to drill in your apartment or create any kind of noise which can disturb your neighbors. So it's sort of a nice way of dealing with someone's peaceful moment. So I think it's really nice.
That's fascinating. That actually maintains your work-life balance. That weekends, even on Saturdays, is it off or it is work? Is it working?
No, Saturdays are on, and there are always some markets, farmers markets or something, which usually happen in many cities. So you can always go out and interact with and get the local commodities. And I think, like me coming from a music background, I also play guitar, so I'm also able to access many nice concerts here, which is like an advantage I can take into.
Yes, we have all seen your Instagram stories playing guitars near the beach. So yes, we have seen the fun part, a little glimpse of the fun part. So let me come to the next part. Let's talk about your own research. What is your research area and what is this Urban Health Games, the research group you're part of? Can you tell us a little bit about it? And did your training and your educational background as an architect and a mobility researcher assisted you in selecting this topic?
Yeah, so back from my architectural days, I was even during my thesis, I always was sort of into analyzing things than designing things. So part of my thesis during my architecture involved researching on how do I select a site. So that involved some of the distance parameters which I selected and analyzed some areas. Why is it good or bad? And that's how I think I went or started towards the mobility area of exploring things in this area. And then during my master's, so I did my Master of Technology in Infrastructure Systems. So that was a mix of urban planning, project management, and mathematical modeling. So it was mix of so many different departments. And there I further sort of explored the area of research, and it involved urban mobility at the same time mixing it with accessibility. So these two areas of research sort of combined during my master's research in IIT and even in Germany when I was during my one semester in Germany. And that time I was in the Urban Health Games research group, and there I was able to sort of explore this mobility and accessibility and attach it with health through projects. So how does urban planning or urban design affect health of people through different environments or spatial configurations and things like that. So Urban Health Games is basically like a people-centered urban design research group where it's a design studio where they they have a close interaction with regional stakeholders and see how to design with active mobility or social interaction or pedestrian accessibility in their living environments. So, and it was sort of a unexplored area, especially for me because I never thought of urban health, associating it with urban planning or urban design and the research area which I've been into. And I was lucky enough and also with the people and the colleagues in the research lab, I was able to associate and work in the projects which sort of contributed towards the urban health aspect.
Okay, that's interesting and interesting information for the students out there. So tell me one thing, when you are doing your PhD thesis and also working on these projects, and plus as a PhD student, we know you're writing papers, going to conferences, or maybe learning new data analytical skills or a new software. How do you manage time? What is your daily schedule like?
So before pandemic, I used to go to the lab every 5 days a week, and I would work on especially in the first year. I was basically because of the research timeline, I had already prepared it because of the scholarship. So you have to be prepared with every year and every month, like what you will be doing. So I knew every year like what goals I had to achieve and how much research or analytics or literature studies or things I had to do beforehand. So from first year itself, I was on the go with the literature and analyzing data and compiling it together month by month. And I think during that time, I was like till now, I've published 2 papers all in journals, and so it gives you a nice feedback while you're working on your research. And it sort of boosts you to, okay, now this part is done. Now I can carry forward the next part. So during my research, I started with a pilot study, and then based on those observations, what I got, I continued. Because of the pilot study, it helps me know what are the timelines to carry forward certain aspects of my study, and based on that, I knew this is the timeline. Okay, so if I have to do similar studies in some other areas, this is the amount of time I require, and so on. Yeah, so especially because of pandemic, I had to revise my data which I had collected pre-pandemic, because the data I was going to collect in the future stages were during the pandemic, which affected sort of my data or the outputs it was going to give. So I had to recollect the data which I had done, some data parts which I had collected before the pandemic. So these are the things which this is all, and during the PhD you always go back and forth. So it's not like you continuously go in a streamline. There are things which you come back and then you revise things and then you go ahead. So I think because of pandemic and timeline, so it sort of made me redo some things. And regarding the projects and publishing and even workshops or competitions, I try to do it once I'm sort of overloaded. But if I'm satisfied with the amount of writing or amount of work I've done, maybe after a few months, then I feel I can do some other things. And
so how do you, while you are doing these things, is there any fixed time slot, like you will work only 8 hours a day? Or are you, like, since you are a planner, since you just mentioned that I always knew that literature review, this literature review stage, and then I have to go for data collection. And it seems you are a planner. So, in your daily routine. So did you had in your mind, like, okay, I'm going to work like from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and that's the schedule I'm going to maintain? Or was it fluctuating and it was like depending upon what you are doing right now?
I think I'll again structure it in pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, because the lifestyle changed totally. Yeah. So before pandemic, I would make it a point that I'll work, especially so from 9 to 5. That was my timeline when I would work, and I would make sure that after 5, if I'm in a flow, if I'm in a really good flow, then I'll extend it to 6. Otherwise, if I'm in a medium pace, then I'll stop myself and I'll make sure I go out and do some grocery shopping or do something, or play basketball or do something afterwards, just to refresh my mind. And so it was more of being consistent than overloading a lot of work in a short span of time. But during pandemic, then with working from home, then because you have to also cook, because that's one thing. Once you're working in a university or while you're doing the research, you also have cafeterias or things around. But especially during pandemic, you have to cook your breakfast, you have to make your lunch and things simultaneously. So that takes a lot of time away from the work. So that time it's flexible. So I understand, okay, I can do. But at times, if I don't work during weekdays, I make it's a mental dissatisfaction that if I haven't worked on a Friday, like say for example, if I haven't worked on a Friday very nicely, so I'm not satisfied with enjoying the weekend that much. So I even at times I work on Saturdays for a few hours just to mentally make myself satisfied that okay, now I can enjoy and work or play or learn or do my skateboard sessions or things like that. So yeah, and right now it's a semi thing. So I go twice or thrice in a week to the lab and I work, and other days I just work from home and work on projects at the same time, also work on my research and compiling the chapters.
That's exactly, I really like the word that you use, consistency. And it's totally true that consistency is the key for doing your PhD work on time and with complete satisfaction. That I truly agree. And also you should have your non-academic activities and, your hobbies. Like you said, you love basketball, and that's very important.
And I think just to add on it, I think the scholarship program, because I have to submit them a report every year of what I've done. So that also puts a little bit of pressure on you that you have to submit or give the report of what have you done throughout the year. So that makes you do more. Like now I have to show them what I did, what more have I done from the last year? Like have I published something? So that gives you, okay, now I have to produce some published papers. Or
that's absolutely true. A constant pressure is also required.
Yeah.
So, during all these years, since you're starting your 4th year, was there any time where you faced or experienced uncertainty or self-doubt? So, a kind of, you were confused that whether you will be able to do it or not, even if you had a plan in your hand. So did you experience that? And if yes, how did you overcome that? And do you have any suggestion to people to overcome such kind of phases during PhD?
I think it's more about taking some time off from your routine, because in PhD it's not like you take you can't it's not like you like school or university where you have a semester is over and then you have some break between two semesters and then you can do whatever you want. In PhD it's more like every week it's just you just work on your research, and there's no thing like, okay, now it's vacation time, now it's a free time, 2 months you don't do anything. So at times, yeah, it's okay to procrastinate just to give your mind a bit of a break. And actually pandemic taught me that, like, you can procrastinate a bit and just let loose, and to a certain extent. Other things, like, you can also network with people on through social media, or just procrastinating can mean just you can go through different what are people doing in your field of work or related field of work. So you can just go on social media and go through projects and connect with people and see just update yourself what are things going on. And that is also a sort of development during your PhD years. It's not only just that you have to keep on working, but you also need to know what are other guys doing, and I think that's completely fine if you do that once in a while, and even if it's a pattern, because it sort of helps you know what you want to do after your PhD. Say, for example, just a perspective. So in the end, you have to put efforts on yourself and your own development, and there can be different pathways, but in the end, you have to just submit your research and get on with it.
Yeah, that's a brilliant advice, actually. It gives a lot of encouragement and hope to a lot of PhD scholars facing a similar kind of self-doubt and this kind of experience. So, Lakshay, that brings me to the last section of this session, which is a very interesting one. What advice would you like to give to the aspiring PhD scholars or first year PhD students in Germany, or people who are looking to basically go to Germany for PhD? What advice would you like to give to them?
I think for like from cultural perspective, if you're able to get to know the language, that's a really the best thing, because people usually they won't speak English to you if their first language is German, and the German dialects always change from north to south of Germany. Even the grammar, the dialects, everything, it changes. And so getting to know the language, I think you are able to connect culturally and socially with people, with the people, even people from different countries who are not even Germans. Even everyone, they would know part of German language, and I think that really helps you with your daily life of getting on with things. And from a research perspective, I would only say you should know what you're doing even before you start applying for our applications. It's not just because you want to do a PhD. There should be a slight idea of what are the things you are planning to do, or what do you want, or what are the questions actually you want to tackle through your research, because that's the basic idea of how you start with your research. And the methodologies or anything, if it's quantitative or qualitative, it goes through the process while you're on the desk or on site, or however you're approaching it. Even through conferences, sometimes you get some ideas from other people and you just get inspired and develop more on it. So, and I think it's very simple and basic idea that you just should know what questions you want to tackle, and the part of how that comes through research.
That's true. Actually, the why part, why do you want to go for PhD, is the most important one. So I also want to know in the end, if people want to contact you to know more about your research or doing PhD in Germany, would you like to share your social media handles with us?
Yeah, I think for research topics, I'm always available on Twitter, _Lakshya Pandit. So you can find find me on Twitter there, and through email. My work email should be fine, I think. So it's lpandit@mail.architecture.tu/darmstadt.de.
Thank you so much, Lakshya, for sharing such a valuable information and also telling us the fun part and why do you enjoy research. Thank you so much for joining in.
Same here. Same. It's a nice initiative where people get to know how to get along with things, and how is it different from a master's or from a bachelor's.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for listening to us and joining in this session. We will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.